Happy Thursday! It's the Prep Queen, Ariel Epstein. I am taking you up till 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to talk all things NFL, Major League Baseball, Ryder Cup. Ryder Cup's coming up this weekend. I almost forgot about it. So thank goodness for Cam Rogers, who's going to come in and substitute in at the last minute. I said to him, Cam, I totally forgot that we have the Ryder Cup tomorrow because I've been so sidetracked with Sean Michael in the freaking chat. In the chat. Enough, Sean. Enough. We know the Ravens lost. We know. The Ravens lost to the Lions in Monday Night Football. It ruined my New Year for the Jewish New Year and Rosh Hashanah. But let's talk about how Sean Michael's Detroit Tigers are going to F up my plus 360 Tigers to win the Central ticket. How about that one, Sean Michael? Please. What, we don't want to talk about the Tigers, do we? Do we? No, we don't. Clearly, Sean Michael only wants to talk about the Detroit Lions. Joke's on you, Sean, because your Lions are pretty similar to my Ravens. You get the big win in the regular season, and you still can't figure out how to win the big game in the playoffs. So we're kind of on the same page. Except you're delusional, and I'm not. I know that my Ravens will probably beat the Chiefs this week, then lose in the divisional round of the playoffs. I told you, I am not set on the Baltimore Ravens. This team never has me sold. I know that the Ravens are always a shot to lose, especially in the second half. The Ravens looked like garbage. They were without Matabike. They were without Kyle Van Noy. They're going to be without them again this week. But here's the difference. At least the second time around, they'll make those adjustments defensively and look a little bit better against a one-dimensional, essentially, Chiefs offense. We could talk about the Ravens. We could talk about some NFL lines a little bit later in the show. We've got Tom Vecchio coming on to talk Thursday Night Football props and look-ahead props for the weekend. He's coming up at 5:10 p.m. Eastern Time. I think it might be this guest's first time joining the show, but I've known him for forever. We're looking at Cam Rogers talking Ryder Cup. He's going to come on at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. USA, USA. I almost forgot about the Ryder Cup. Sorry. It was my fault. Vikings undefeated in Europe is a great stat. Another great stat that I saw today, let me pull it up, and then we'll talk about some injury news. But we do have Thursday Night Football to talk about. This was the stat that I think is why the public's betting a certain way. Kyler Murray hasn't beaten the Seattle Seahawks since October 25th, 2020. He is 2-8 against the Seahawks in his career. And I also saw that the great John Ewing from over at BetMGM was posting some stats. And we also saw some of the movement. So Seattle opened up plus 1.5. They're now minus 1.5. Tons of bets and money coming in on Seattle. Total 43.5. No movement there. The Cardinals were minus 125 on the money line and now plus 105. I also saw a stat about Kyler Murray and against the spread, but he has not been profitable when going up against the Seattle Seahawks. Very interesting. I've got some props for later on. We'll talk about those in the Prop Queen Edges of the day. Some other NFL news. Actually, we can talk about tonight first. It looks like Zach Charbonnet is going to participate tonight. He's expected to play, listed questionable. He's been dealing with a foot injury, full participant in practice yesterday. So this doesn't hurt the prop I'm going to give out about a running back. I just wouldn't look to the ground game. They've also, Arizona's been pretty good at limiting, or actually Seattle has been good at limiting explosive runs. So I'm not really loving anyone on the ground today. We'll talk about the passing game though. Other NFL injury updates. Jaden Daniels limited again in practice. Nick Bosa on the IR. He's going to get surgery on Friday. Justin Fields, full participant as he nears clearing the protocol. Looks like the Jets will get back their quarterback. Over 21.5 yards for Benson. I think you're going to hear Tom Vecchio talk more about that one. Do I trust Sam Darnold on the road? I do. There's no apostrophe, by the way, in Darnold. It's Darnold, not DeArnold. But I do trust him enough against this Arizona pass D. The Arizona pass D has been struggling. And when I go through why I'm looking at some Sam Darnold props tonight, you'll understand more, especially when looking at the deep balls that Arizona can allow and how Sam Darnold last year, this was a stat that I got from the NFL Next Gen Stats. So Sam Darnold last year threw for more deep balls when it came to like passing yards from deep balls than anybody in the league. And Arizona allows the 12th most deep balls against them defensively. So just something to keep in mind with the Arizona secondary, that you may see some big plays, which is like 20 plus yard throws by Sam Darnold tonight. Don't need Bosa. Okay, Mark. Mark, I'm just curious, your thoughts. Do you need Jose Barrios? I know we're flip-flopping between NFL and MLB right now. Jose Barrios on the IL with elbow inflammation. According to the Blue Jays manager, they said that he's been dealing with this for quite some time. Now, I know that Barrios is not your best starter by any means, but Barrios, you spent a year without him. Barrios at least provides some depth, and if he pitches at home, he's much better. I know that he's got an ERA above a 4, and your 1-2 punt has an ERA sub 4 ERA, but just saying, a little bit of depth issues there for a team that is sneaking down your necks. The Yankees last week were 22-1 to win the AL East, and now the Yankees are yesterday they were plus 240. Today on BetMGM, the Yankees and Blue Jays, minus 115 each. The Yankees have won 7 of their last 8. The Jays have lost 6 of their last 7. The Yankees do have to win out, though, for this to happen, and I just feel like that's a stretch. The Yankees, there's no way they're going to play or throw Max Fried this weekend, because then if you do lose that game, then you lose him for a wild card, which is also something you don't want to do. Carlos Rodon's numbers scare me today, too. I saw his strikeout prop was 5.5. Very low for a player that's gone over in 11 of 19 starts when facing a team with a high K rate against lefties, against the White Sox. So it does scare me that that Rodon's number is a bit low for a strikeout prop tonight. They are pitching well. Can they hit? Poor Marley. Hi, Marley. She's looking at me. She doesn't know where to go today. But anyway, so that's that drama. We've also got this drama. The AL MVP race. Cal Raleigh on BetMGM is minus 275 now. Both these players hit a couple of homers yesterday. Raleigh hit 60. Aaron Judge, 2-1, which is kind of crazy. I mean, sure, he could be a slight dog to Cal Raleigh, but when you look at Aaron Judge hitting 328 with 51 home runs, 2-1 sounds a little wrong. So then you've got this. Will Cal Raleigh beat Aaron Judge's AL home run record with 62 homers? 62.5 to the over on Monday was 22-1. Today, over 62.5 is plus 550. So that is also very interesting. Mariners catcher has 60 home runs with 4 games left. I don't know if it matters breaking the record or not for Cal Raleigh to be MVP. I was talking to somebody that 2 home runs shouldn't make or break your MVP bid. But this was my argument too. He's batting 247. So can you give MVP to someone batting 247? And you guys act as if I personally care. I don't personally care if Aaron Judge wins MVP. I didn't personally care that Lamar Jackson lost MVP to Josh Allen last year. It really doesn't bother me. I care about my teams winning. I don't care about personal awards as an individual. I know some people take it personally. I really don't. If I felt that Cal Raleigh deserved MVP over Aaron Judge, I would say it. It's very close, and it's probably one of the most closely contested MVP races that we have seen in the last 5 years. We've seen only unanimous decisions across the last 5 years in the baseball world. I know that it was close last year with Lamar and Josh Allen. This is kind of what it's feeling like. The only difference I will tell you guys between the NFL and Major League Baseball, I was talking to some MLB people. They rotate who votes. So the same people that voted last year don't vote again for the same award this year. So voters fatigue is not necessarily a thing because it's not the same people voting for, let's say, Aaron Judge every year for MVP. You've got a bunch of different people. That's why they do it. A few of the MLB writers I spoke to all said that they would still vote Aaron Judge just because he's more well-rounded when it comes to statistics. No, everyone who votes is not an East Coast writer, Sean. They actually diversify everybody. You don't know what you're talking about. I literally speak to these MLB writers, and they tell me that No, they're not Yankee homers. Oh my God. Okay. I'm bringing on someone who actually can speak to fact, and that is our good friend of the show here, Mr. Tom Vecchio. Hi, Tom. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you. Sean has always been passionate about his anti-Yankee stance, and that's fine. The MVP market is an interesting one, to say the least, this year.
I'm really excited to see who wins it, just out of pure, like, okay, are the odds right? Is the public right? Like, the odds right now have Aaron Judge at 2-1, which
Yeah.
even if Judge is a slight dog to Cal Raleigh, fine. But I just feel like, based on speaking to writers, speaking to my MLB researchers, it shouldn't be that far apart.
Yeah, I've been on the record on this show and across various shows, basically saying the same thing every time, that Cal Raleigh's going to end with more home runs and more RBIs. And that's just a fact. And that, I've been saying that since August, or at the end of July, when Judge got hurt and he missed all that time. Like, we knew Kyle Raleigh was going to pull ahead, but Judge is leading baseball, not just the AL, leading baseball in batting average. His WAR is better. His OPS is better. His WRC plus, his WOBA. All these things are better in the favor of Judge. And I will say that there's a real human element to it, that people are attached to the narrative of what Cal Raleigh is doing positionally as a catcher, breaking a team record with home runs, for Ken Griffey, for the Mariners, and all these sorts of things, and approaching the AL record that Judge set. So there is a factor of, like, yes, these things are very clearly heavily weighted in Judge, factors in favor of Judge, because he has literally every other stat across the board when he's hitting nearly 100 points higher compared to Cal Raleigh. But the nostalgia is not the right word. Like, the commotion of what Cal Raleigh is doing is a real factor.
I know that for a catcher, this is unprecedented. I know it's historic. I don't want to sleep on that for Cal Raleigh. I've been saying since the All-Star break, I didn't think he can maintain this pace, and he absolutely has, proving that also the home run derby thing, silly. But
he did start off the first 15 or so games post home run derby really slow, and then he turned it on. So, like, there was a lull and his odds dropped. And I would say at this point, like, you shouldn't bet Cal Raleigh at this point. Like, if you have a Cal Raleigh ticket at 5-1, congrats. That's awesome to have. But
so would you say Aaron Judge at 2-1? I mean, I feel like there's kind of value there, but it's also, like, at this point, why are we sitting on a 2-1 ticket? Just to say, like, I'm right?
Yeah, it's like, it's part of it. It's like, also, I don't want, they don't award that to the beginning of December. Like, I don't want to sit on a 2-1 ticket for Judge, for
What about the Yankees and Blue Jays and the AL East right now?
I actually don't know what those odds are.
So they actually are both -115 at BetMGM at the moment.
I would say you take the team that you think is, where the Yankees are playing the Orioles, the Tampa's playing the Rays, the Rays. I don't know. That's close. I mean,
the futures market in MLB just has more value inside it anyway. Like, now the Mariners, all the value sucked out of them, but for the last month, we could have gotten them at great value. Padres still have some value. If you believe in the Tigers getting hot again and not being this bad, then maybe they have some value. Those are really the two that stood out to me with value. Who would you say has value?
I mean, I've been on the record saying the Mariners have the best pitching staff in baseball for months at this point. So I've always liked the Mariners, just because I don't think any team could compete with them. There's a moment that I thought the Brewers were going to be there when, Mizorowski was coming up, and we were like, okay, we have Woodruff coming back. It's going to be him, Mizorowski.
I never trusted them, and I don't trust the Blue Jays.
And Freddie Peralta. And I was like, okay, maybe that 3-man rotation could go head-to-head with the Mariners. But when it's all said and done, the Mariners, top to bottom, the improvement that they made with the lineup, getting the pitching staff back and healthy, I don't think there's a rotation that's 1 through 5 will be as good as the Mariners at any point.
I don't trust some of these teams. It's just crazy because the American League is wide open. The National League is wide open. Yeah. I feel like the National League has a bit more talent than the American League, but the NL might beat each other up on their way to the World Series.
Yeah. I mean, I still think the Phillies at this point, based on the path that they're going to have to take, is really interesting. Because if we know the Phillies and the Brewers will have the first round buys and the Dodgers have to play that extra round, like, that is just a huge advantage for any team.
Nice call, Mark, on Padres 27-1. I hope they don't break your heart like they break mine.
It's still a
Thursday
great
night
ticket to have.
football. We've got Thursday night football. It is
Yeah.
not. It's a good game between teams that have winning records, but it's really not that exciting of a game. I feel like to the general public. I feel like it might be a little boring. 43.5 total. Line flipped. So we have some props to give out. And by the way, just getting an updated look at the lines. The line flipped Arizona -1.5 to +1.5. Seattle now the road favorite. Line flips scare me sometimes. You are going Trey Benson under 60.5 rushing yards.
Yeah.
Why?
So Benson, no doubt, is in for a really big workload. And it's not just tonight. It's obviously moving forward with Connor done for the year. But this is a really, really tough matchup for him going up against Seattle. Seattle, third best in the league right now when it comes to EPA per rush allowed. They're also top 10 in the league in terms of rushing success rate on the defensive side of things. Top 10 when it comes to fewest rushing yards allowed per game. They're just really, really stout on defense. And I tweeted this prop out the other day, and the line moved a lot. It was under 60.5, and I've seen it down as low as 54.5 in some places. So it's great to be ahead of the market. And I think Benson will play a big role really for the rest of the season. And frankly, I would rather have more interest in his receiving props tonight because that's just, I think, the role he'll be in for. So under 60.5 for Trey Benson.
I was going to mention this later in the show. I like Trey Benson over his 19.5 receiving yards. I've seen it go up to 20.5. The last couple of years, Seattle has struggled against pass catching backs. I know in the chat already someone, and I don't want to go all the way back, but I know someone else wrote that they like the over 21.5 receiving yards for Trey Benson.
Yeah.
What is it about Trey Benson that's going to be more successful in that pass game?
He's just a good player. Like I really think he's a good player. He's effective when he gets the ball, yards after contact, all these things. And again, if we're seeing a decent pass rush from Seattle, getting these quick check down passes to Benson, I think will be easy. I believe Seattle will do their best to eliminate, not fully eliminate, but take away as much as they can from Trey McBride out of the game, who's the clear number one option on the Cardinals. The deep ball with Marv Harrison, it's just going to leave something open underneath. And you give me the ball in his hands 3 times, 8 yards a time, 7 yards here, he can go over the 19 or 20, whatever it is.
Looking ahead to this weekend, you're looking at this Bills-Saints game. And the Bills they were 16.5 point favorites. Now it's 15.5 points.
Yeah.
Even as double-digit favorites, even if the Bills blow them out, someone's got to score. Someone's got to do well. And you just don't believe it's Keon Coleman. How come we are going to be fading the receiver?
I really like Keon Coleman. I really do. I think he's a tremendous talent. I have him on my most important dynasty fantasy football team, just to be clear. But it's not really about that and just like his physical attributes. But the Bills' receiving target share this year is all over the place, and I hate it. So Keon Coleman leads the team at 18%. Dalton Kincaid's at 16. Khalil Shakir's at 15. Josh Palmer's at 13. James Cook's at 9. Dawson Knox at 7. It is so spread out. There's no one dominant option in the receiving game for the Bills. And this is very clearly a game with them being, multiple touchdown favorites, where if you told me 5, 6 different players all had 3 or 4 catches, I'm not going to be shocked. Like there's no one. It's just like, oh, who's open? Just pass it to this guy. Oh, who's open the next time? Pass to this guy. It doesn't matter if someone has the hot hand. Josh Allen's just going all over the place with the ball. And that makes it really difficult from a prop perspective, where Keon Coleman could realistically go over his yardage prop and still end with only 3 catches because he is a little bit of a deep ball threat. And then add in the run game. If they're ahead by this much, then we're not going to be dealing with a whole lot of passes just because they're going to be playing by 10, 14 points in front and they're just going to be running the ball and the clock's going to be bleeding.
Hey, I don't mind it, especially in a large spread kind of game where you might only get 3 quarters out of your players
also
anyway.
True. Yeah.
And I agree with you with deep threats. I never really was a receptions prop better. I was more of a receiving yards prop better. When you get situations like a deep threat, it is very scary to go and fade their yards sometimes because it happens in one catch. So to go under receptions and it's only -130 is actually nicely priced.
Yeah, I go under on receptions and over on yards. Yards are far easier to win compared to overs on total receptions.
I like it. Speaking of yards, Chuba Hubbard, under 55.5 rushing yards. We're both on the same page here. I'm going to talk about my NFL props tomorrow, but you're looking at a New England defense that's been really good against the run this year. I mean, top 5 so far this season against running backs. Chubba Hubbard, under. How come we're not afraid of a relatively low rushing yards number of 55.5?
I think he's a good running back, like, and that's just really what it comes down. Like, he's good, he's not great. The volume can be there for him at times. It's a tough matchup, like you said, going up against New England. I also don't like what I'm seeing from him, and more importantly, the Panthers O-line, especially when it comes to an efficiency perspective. Under 4 yards per carry in each of the first 2 games, and he has a long rush this season of 14 yards. In the other 2 games, it's at 8 and 9 yards. It's not like he's some explosive player that is breaking off these 20, 30-yard runs that we have to worry about. Like, they're grinding their way to 2, 3, 4 yards per carry, and seeing that against this defense, which is held in week 1, Genty under 40. They held Devon Achane to only 30 yards, and they held Warren on Pittsburgh last week to 47. So it sounds like they're actually really solid on defense, and Drake May is actually playing really solid this year. A lot of the underlying metrics are very beneficial for him. That's a side note. But the defense from New England's solid, and Hubbard's just not going to see enough volume in order to get to 4 yards, 3 yards per carry. He's 17, 20 times. It's just not going to happen.
I like it. I like fading a team too that the line's moving in favor of New England. Carolina, not looking so hot. I don't trust their offensive line. I certainly don't trust Chubba Hubbard. So against the good run D, it makes perfect sense to me. Boise's asking us this question. I'll answer it too, and then you could feed off whatever you think I say, Tom. Matabike neck injury seems career-threatening, waiting on second or third opinions. It does kind of sound like the way the Ravens are speaking about the Matabike injury, that it's really serious based on just the reports I'm hearing, and I could go and ask some of my people. It doesn't seem like we're getting Matabike back anytime soon.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to speak to a medical thing, even though I do have some experience with neck injuries myself. But, if he's not back, he's not back. If he comes back at a certain point, I assume they'll ease him back in. It is obviously a big loss, but there's nothing that can be really derived from it except the fact that they're just weaker overall. Like, that's just a fact.
Yeah, the Ravens losing him and Kyle Van Noy, very bad. I know Sean wants to talk about Survivor. You have any thoughts on Survivor picks this week? This week, I would be very comfortable going to the Rams if you haven't already used them. I would be very comfortable going to the Packers if you haven't used them. The Lions, the Bills. There's some good teams, straightforward. I feel like everyone's going to be on the Bills this week if they haven't used them.
Yeah, if you haven't used them, Bills, Lions. I wouldn't mind the Pats if you had to. Rams, 49ers, only if Purdy plays. Packers.
49ers scare me this week.
Okay.
Even if Purdy plays, the 49ers, they have a short week coming up against the Rams on Thursday. That's a bad spot.
It is, but, Purdy back is certainly a boost for him, or a boost for the team overall. And could they win that game and not cover? Was it 3.5 for that game?
Yeah, 3.5.
3.5. And they win by a field goal. Jacksonville's playing certainly better. Packers are awfully confident themselves on the road. I think the Packers roll that game.
Yeah, if the Packers didn't just lose to the Browns last week, I would say, okay. But after losing to the Cleveland Browns, I don't think that the Packers, as 6.5-point favorites, are going down.
I don't. I actually was talking about it with someone yesterday. I'm considering just taking the Packers at -9.5. Like, if they win this game, I think it'll be comfortable. It won't be
maybe close first half, because I saw a really interesting stat. There was a really interesting stat about, and I have to go through all my documents. So when playing, this is if the Cowboys are a 7-point dog. Okay. If it did hit 7 at one point, so it's 6.5 I've seen. But when playing in a first half of a season, home dogs of at least 7 points are 19-1-2 against the spread over the last 3 years.
Okay. First half. I mean, it's very plausible that if they're not in it close, they won't be in it close at all. And I know it sounds silly, but if they can keep it close, they'll have a shot to cover. But I really think the Packers roll by 10+ points. So I think that's very straightforward.
And I understand not liking a road team for Survivor, fine. But to the chat's point, if you don't have, let's say, the Ravens already used, then you've got to save the Lions potentially for for Thanksgiving. Like, you have to think of Thanksgiving.
There's a lot to consider, and where you are, how much money is it worth? do you have two? Are you going to use one on one, one on the other, those sorts of things? I will say one point for the Thursday night game, the FanDuel TD jackpot for the bonus bet thing that you use. You get the I am on Elijah Arroyo on Seattle at plus 1060 for the TD jackpot. He is their tight end, and surprisingly enough, he is tied with JSN for the most red zone targets on Seattle this year. Big body tight end.
So when you do that, is that his also just anytime touchdown odds, or does it get boosted?
So no, you apply the token, and if he scores either the first or the last, you get the bonus bet. But if he scores in the middle, you still win the bet, but you just don't get part of the bonus promo that they've going on. Ooh. So the odds don't change. It's just about scoring the first.
And you said what were the odds for the anytime touchdown?
He's 1060 right now. Elijah Arroyo, their second round tight end draft from this past year.
Ooh, that's an interesting underrated one. I was going to ask you.
So it's if no one's been playing it, the way it works is FanDuel has some bonus money set, and if they score first or last, that money is chopped by the number of people that have it. So if 10,000 people bet Kenneth Walker, it's $1 million divided by 10,000. But so everyone's going to the chalk of Walker, Benson, JSN, even Charbonnet will be thrown in there, Trey McBride, and Marv Harrison, and even maybe Cooper Kupp. So in order to get away from the chalk and take a viable option, who again is tied with the second most red zone targets on Seattle this year, Elijah Arroyo, Arizona, bottom 5 or bottom 8 in the league, I should say, when it comes to receiving yards allowed versus tight ends.
And then if, let's say, you hit that and everyone else gets chopped, what's the boost?
There's no boost. There's no boost. It's just the guy has to score either first or last, and that's when the bonus is applied. I assume people haven't. It's $1 million bonus, one for first, one for last. So, and he's saying he's on Cooper for the jackpot. That's a good one. That's a good one to have because you're getting away from the top options. And even if Cooper Kupp scores the second touchdown of the game, you still win the bet. You just don't get part of the promo.
I was about to write about Cooper Kupp in my newsletter today. I just couldn't. When I write about things in the Prop Queen newsletter, I like to make sure I have stats, analysis, numbers to back it up. I just didn't have much on Cooper Kupp. New offense. We can't really use what he did in his last couple of years, especially in prime time, because it's a new quarterback. Cooper Kupp should be due. No, I mean, he's a veteran.
I think it's I think it's a good pick for the promo specifically, just because I think you're getting away from the chalk. Everyone's going to go Trey McBride, Kenneth Walker, all these sorts of things, Trey Benson. So getting away from that is absolutely the right thing to do. Like when you have all these options, if no one stands out, like jump a level down, and it's a $5 promo, so you just opt in and you're good to go.
We are going to be, Kelly and I, doing another Anytime Touchdown Splash Sports contest where we get to pick one touchdown scorer a week. I actually got eliminated in the first week last time, so I'm going to need Tom. This is hard.
It is. Last week I was on. Oh boy, I don't remember. Mike Evans, obviously.
Yes,
Mike Evans came through, and then he got hurt. So shout out to him.
You got him on like the last hurrah.
I know, but
it was the swan song.
Hopefully,
even though we did lose, wasn't it Trey McBride week 1?
Yeah, and then he scored last week against the 49ers of all teams.
Great. So. Well, I'm going to need some help with this anytime touchdown market. Before I let you go, give people advice on handicapping that market going into the weekend.
Always take things that are plus money. Stop laying odds on TDs that are minus 150 or minus 130. That's crazy. Look for players that have high usage, that are on the field a lot, high snap count. If it's a receiver, high target share, high red zone target share, high end zone target share. And I do buy into premium, or I shouldn't say premium, like top end wide receivers who haven't scored yet because they want to be happy, and quarterbacks should keep their top end wide receivers happy. So Drake London wouldn't be the worst pick in the world. You look there. I was on Laporta the other night for a TD. He didn't score. He certainly has a fine matchup. Jason has a super high target share, so that's a totally fine option from a normal perspective. He's at 176 tonight, which is certainly fine.
Tom_Vecchio 1 is where
I've been trying to get rid of that one, and I looked today actually, and it says that Tom_Vecchio is available. I tried to change it, wouldn't let me. Tried to change it to T Vecchio. All these names are all taken, and all these accounts haven't tweeted since 2019, and I can't get any of them. It's killing me.
I wish I could say get in touch with them, but they're impossible to get in touch with over at X.
I did say Arroyo for tonight for the TD jackpot. That's who I'm on. Elijah Arroyo.
Tom_Vecchio1 is where you can find him on social. I know you've got shows this weekend. What you got?
Show tonight, pregame show. I'll be back on at during the fourth quarter. I'll be in studio on Sunday for Pro Football Today pregame show from 10 to 1. In studio on Tuesday, and we roll on.
Tom_Vecchio1. Thank you for joining the show. Catch him over at Sports Grid all the time in here, all the time on the show. We appreciate you. Good luck tonight.
Sure. Same to you. Thanks for having me.
I know that you guys always love to roast me for not talking about certain sports like golf and tennis, and I try really hard. Sometimes I just completely forget the schedules, and I get all mixed up. Today, I got all mixed up. I saw a tweet about the Ryder Cup. I immediately texted this next guest, panicking because it was 4:30. It was literally an hour ago. I said, Cam, I said we would do Ryder Cup, and I totally forgot. I blanked. It's my crazy time of year when MLB is getting down to the wire, going close to the playoffs, NFL season. The Ravens make me want to jump off a bridge. So we're going to bring on a friend of mine who's from that Baltimore area. He understands my pain with the Baltimore Ravens, Mr. Cam Rogers. Welcome to the show.
The legend is here, Ariel. It's so good to be with you. Congrats on all your success. And oh my God, talk about coming up in the clutch. 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, and the king is here.
I am so excited. And I found out that you have a new nickname, the Chief Vibes Officer, so you bring the vibes everywhere you go.
I certainly do. I'm actually back in the hometown, which is always a big deal. The red carpet arrival. I'm going out later. Autograph, selfies, all the things, Ariel. It's not easy being me, but someone has to do it.
Cam Rogers, if you don't know him, he's on the Believe Network, Fox 5 DC. You can catch him there talking all things sports, but we're bringing him here to talk Ryder Cup because I am very excited to get his thoughts on the big event coming up this weekend. And you like USA, -150. I mean, that is a lot of juice to be laying.
A lot of juice, but worth the squeeze, honestly, Ariel. The Europe team hasn't won on U.S. soil dating back to when we were in high school, 2012. So it's been quite some time. We're playing at Bethpage Black. We're talking about the New York crowd. You know New York fans, Ariel, and they're going to be crazy for this event. This is not like any other event on the PGA Tour calendar. You can be loud. It's almost like Live in a sense now. And so I think that's going to be a big time factor. I think if you look at it from a neutral field perspective, the European team is better on paper, but I think the home field advantage is such a big factor here for the U.S. side. You have Scottie Scheffler, the best golfer in the world right now. Put that all together, and I do think they're going to end up winning this thing. I don't think it'll be decided probably until the latter stages of the singles when we see them all play together on Sunday. So it's going to be a while till we see the result. It's going to be close, but I do think U.S. does win.
What is it about? I know you mentioned the crowd, crazy New Yorkers. What is it about maybe the course or maybe what is it about the home field advantage that you feel that they have an advantage or they have an edge, Team USA?
Yeah, I think the crowd is the biggest factor, right? Okay. But the other thing, too, is these guys on the U.S. side have a lot more opportunity to practice unless, the European guys want to go across the pond multiple times to understand the golf course a little bit more. So from a proximity standpoint and a learning standpoint, the advantage is with the U.S. side as well. I will say a big storyline, Ariel, going into this Ryder Cup was whether Keegan Bradley, the captain for the U.S. side, was actually going to pick himself to be on the team. And he was getting a lot of outside pressure from the media and what have you to not do that from an optics perspective. But I would argue that he probably should have picked himself to be on this team. He earned it. He won the Travelers Championship this year, had a really nice run at the FedEx Cup playoffs, finishing T7 at the Tour Championship. So if the U.S. side loses, everybody is going to be pointing to this. This is going to be a whole lot of Monday morning quarterbacking, if you will, if they do lose, because Keegan Bradley could have picked himself, but he didn't. So that's just a side there. But I think, overall, the chemistry for the U.S. side is probably a bigger advantage than the European side. So that's also something to take into account.
No pressure there, Mr. Bradley. Hopefully
Exactly.
You don't make a bad self-inflicted decision. People don't normally love to, or let's just say for the people that are watching that don't normally bet golf, but they'll bet any of the majors. They'll bet the Ryder Cup because they love their country. What advice do you have for people that may not understand the markets, maybe looking for some props, maybe looking for just a way to get a little bit of action on this?
Well, if you're starting out in golf betting, this is probably one of the hardest tournaments to handicap because you don't know who's going to be playing on Saturday. We know everyone's going to be playing on Sunday for the singles. We have the pairings for tomorrow, but if you're trying to place a bet on, say, the top scorer for the U.S. side, you don't know, and it's very unlikely that Colin Morikawa is going to play all of his opportunities throughout the weekend. We know Scottie Scheffler will. We know Rory McIlroy will. So that kind of narrows down the field a little bit, but also it's an element of a guessing game. So I think that's something to keep in account. And then, team cohesion. There are some pairings that know each other very well. John Rahm, Tyrrell Hatton know each other very well. Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele have played together at the Zurich Classic and other team events. But other guys don't know each other so well in a team capacity. One of the bugaboos for the U.S. could be, where does Bryson fit in? Because we know he's very individualistic. He plays the Bryson game. Can he be a good teammate? That is a big-time question for the U.S. side. So I would say it's really difficult to handicap from these matchup perspectives. You can find some edges, and I do have one tomorrow. I do believe that the Scottie Scheffler pairing is going to win tomorrow, and I also think the Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay pairing is going to win tomorrow with that chemistry in mind. Again, Cantlay and Xander, they have not really had a great season to their standards, but again, they've played together so many times. That's where you can find an edge in the markets. But if you want to keep it simple, I do think USA is going to win this thing, and I think on singles day, it's going to be the US's side as well. But yeah, I would say it's very difficult to really map things out because there's still a whole lot of uncertainty, certainly with Saturday.
You're talking about, listen, usually golf, we get Thursdays. And then you've got these day two foursomes that you think could be a winner, singles that could be. Walk us through the Ryder Cup format.
Yes. So we have a total of 28 points to be had. The team that gets past 14 points will win the Ryder Cup. If it's 14-14, the defending champion keeps the cup. That would be the European side. You can actually bet on a tie, which I believe is plus 1,000. Why not? Nobody likes rooting for a tie, but go ahead. I mean, the odds are juicy. You love that. So you have a round of foursomes in the morning. Then you have four ball, which is best ball. I know it gets confusing. Foursomes is alternate shot. Four ball is best ball. Then you do it again on Saturday. So it's 2 and then 2. And then on Sunday, it's singles. Everybody plays. Not everybody plays tomorrow and Saturday. First team to get to 14.5 will win the Ryder Cup. And I do think that's going to be the U.S. side. So that's how it's all mapped out. And I think why a lot of people enjoy the television experience, Ariel, certainly being there, is the not high decorum and the buttoned up nature that you get with the Masters or other major championships or even regular PGA Tour stops. It's very much like the Waste Management Phoenix Open or a Live Tour event times 10. The crowd is going to be insane for this. If you guys recall the US Open at Bethpage, I want to say it was 2004 or something like that. The crowd was so crazy with Sergio Garcia that he had to step off multiple times and collect himself. And that was a regular US Open, not the Ryder Cup. So get ready.
I'm excited. I'm excited to root for Team USA, especially because you like them. And, I'm just a USA person. But day two, foursomes winner. You do like Europe there. How come day two foursomes?
He's here for the European side to win. And I do think if you factor in the alternate shot format, typically that favors the European side. I know I talked about the U.S. probably this year has better cohesion overall, but historically speaking, the European side has done better over the course of the last 10 to 20 years. And so for to be a time for them to actually get on top, I think day two alternate shot makes a lot of sense to me. They could certainly win alternate shot tomorrow. I think the U.S. side, though, does sort of put their foot down and set a statement, especially with the crowd. By day two, though, I think the European side settles in a little bit, Ariel, in the morning, and they win that round, and we go to best ball where the U.S. side could win. But yeah, I do think that's some good value there. You're getting plus money as well.
Cam Rogers, thank you so much for coming on at the absolute last minute to save us and give us some Ryder Cup action going into the weekend. I appreciate you. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk again soon.
Good to see you. Cheers, everybody.
Cam's great. You guys should check him out. He's over at Cam Rogers. I tagged him in the post, by the way. It is Cam Rogers Live, as you can look at his X page, and he does all the sports like tennis and golf, where you could check out props and whatnot action. Let's get to some props. First, I want to talk a little bit of who the public is on. We've got propaganda. These are the most bet on props according to BetMGM, starting with Torrey Horton over 22.5 receiving yards. Trey McBride over 60.5 receiving yards. Jackson Smith-Njigba over 79.5 receiving yards. Sam Darnold over his passing yards. Oof, that scares me. Kyler Murray over his rushing attempts. Ooh, that annoys me that Sam Darnold over passing yards is one of the most bet on props because I'm going to give that out. But Trey McBride, his numbers just felt too high. I wanted to go to McBride. Everyone wants to go to McBride because Seattle has been atrocious against tight ends the last couple of years. Unfortunately, I can't get to the window on it. They allow the most receptions per game at 8 receptions per game to tight end Seattle. But McBride, I mean, like, you look at all the others, it's just, you look at McBride's numbers in primetime, you look at McBride's numbers at home last year, like, you look at his numbers against Seattle, they're just not consistent enough for me to go over these really high numbers for a tight end. This is really high. We're talking wide receiver numbers for Trey McBride. And I just have no interest in backing that. And everyone else is. Same way with Jackson Smith-Njigba. I saw John Ewing from BetMGM post this. His receiving yards prop opened 70.5, was 79.5 this morning, 82.5 now. 99% of money's on the over. I mean, this is just insanity at this point. You're getting a horrible number if you're looking to him. And obviously, JSN's been great. He's got a couple of 100-yard games. He's got a catch for at least 40 in all three. Again, like, when I see things happening way too many times in a row and the public is all over it, that scares me. So I'm staying away from JSN tonight. Where I am going to go, Thursday Night Football props. Kyler Murray over his pass completions. So you've got no James Conner at running back. It's going to be Trey Benson. Conner out for the season with that right foot injury. The Seattle run D is much better than the pass D. And Murray has actually gone over 21.5 pass completions in 6 straight games against Seattle, averaging 24.5 pass completions per game. Seattle has allowed the 5th most completions per game at just under 25. 2 of the 3 quarterbacks to face the Seahawks have gone over their pass completions number. So you could look to the over completions for Kyler Murray tonight. Sam Darnold. I like pretty much all his overs tonight, which seems public. I got him 220 plus on the passing yards for minus 130 at DraftKings. You could look to his over pass completions. You could look to over pass attempts. And I'll walk you through all of them. And you could tell me what you think. According to Props.Cash likes his over passing yards the most. But we'll start with completion. So over 19.5 pass completions was minus 130, 20.5 plus 105. The only game that Darnold went over that was against Pittsburgh, but that was the other road game. The only other road game, he had 22. The Seahawks, when they've aligned in like a condensed formation on a league high, 58%, by the way, of snaps this season, the Seahawks have recorded the 2nd highest passing success rate when in a condensed formation this year. Arizona, bottom 10 in blitz rate. They're not applying a lot of pressure. It's going to be a lot of time in the pocket for Darnold. Arizona's allowed the most completions per game, just under 30. All 3 quarterbacks to face Arizona's D has gone over their pass completion prop. Mac Jones went over. Bryce Young went over. Spencer Rattler went over. First-round pick, Will Johnson, also doubtful, the cornerback, groin injury. Darnold's over pass completions you could look at. If you just like the intent to throw instead of relying on receivers to catch, then you could look at the over 29.5 pass attempts for Darnold, who went over this in 4 of 5 primetime games with Minnesota last year. I know it's a different team, but as long as the intent is there in primetime to throw, you can consider. Arizona's run D, top 4. Pass D, 3rd worst. Darnold has a ton of receivers to throw to. Cooper Kupp, JSN, Torrey Horton. Picked up targets in the last couple of weeks. Arizona's allowed the most pass attempts per game, just over 47 pass attempts per game. Again, all 3 quarterbacks faced. Mac Jones, Bryce Young, Spencer Rattler, all went over their pass attempt prop. Darnold over passing yards. You could get it 220 plus. You could get the actual one. It went from 223.5 this morning to 226.5, or you could lay some juice. Again, the only one that Darnold went over was on the road at Pittsburgh. In week 3, Darnold completed 6 of 8 downfield passes for 146 yards and a touchdown. This season, Darnold has completed just over 64% of his downfield passes, second highest rate amongst qualified quarterbacks. Last year, Darnold threw for just over 2,400 downfield passes, 24 passing yards, 204 more than anyone else. And guess who sucks against the deep ball? The Cardinals, who have allowed 323 passing yards on downfield passes, 12th most this season. Last year, primetime games, Darnold went over in his passing yards 4 of 5 times. Arizona, second most passing yards per game allowed to quarterbacks at 275 per game. And again, all 3 quarterbacks to face Arizona have gone over this number. My differentiator was that Props.Cash said that their numbers like the over passing yards the most, but I really don't mind with anybody going on the over and any of the others. We mentioned this in the chat before about Trey Benson, the running back for Arizona, over his 19.5 receiving yards. Seattle has allowed the most receiving yards per game to running backs. 3 of the 4 went over the receiving yard prop against Seattle. Kamara is the only one that went under. He had 26.5 prop, went 14. Kenneth Gainwell, over 13.5 receiving yards against Seattle, had 16. Jalen Warren, over 14.5 receiving yards. He had 86. Christian McCaffrey went over his 29.5 receiving yard prop against Seattle, and he had 73 McCaffrey receiving yards. Trey Benson, if they're going to shut him down in the run game, which is what Tom Vecchio thinks is going to happen tonight, then I would look to him in the passing game. The same way I'm looking to Kenneth Walker in the passing game, over 10.5 receiving yards. He went over in both primetime games last year for Seattle with 36 and 37. Arizona's allowed the 5th most receiving yards per game to running backs at just over 50 receiving yards a game to the position. 2 of 3 number 1 backs have gone over their receiving yard prop against Arizona, McCaffrey and Chuba Hubbard. McCaffrey had 88. Chuba Hubbard had 39. Kamara, the only one that went under, he had 12. But all the other number 1s have put up at least 39 receiving yards against Arizona this year. I love me some Kenneth Walker tonight. Trying to see. Okay, a little bit more of propaganda, I guess, but it's not really propaganda. It's more fade the public. College football. Bettors are hammering Georgia. Look at these bet slips. 84% money line, 81% on the spread. Spoke to my good friend, Chris Thurston. I'm going to get him on the show at some point. He loves himself some Bama plus 3.5 and more at plus 3. Said Georgia's defense, not the same as what everyone's used to. Ty Simpson's looked great the last 2 weeks for Bama. Bama slings the ball with Simpson to those wideouts. They probably could win this game outright, my friend Chris said. I don't hate college football. I just don't handicap it. So I'm talking about it. My friend's handicap of it, Chris Thurston, who's really good at betting college football. We talk about college football every weekend, actually. I just tail whatever him and Kelly do. So that's why I was asking, do we fade the public? And Chris absolutely believes that this is a fade the public moment for UGA and Bama. A huge game. So plus 3, plus 3.5. Don't mind if I do. Some Alabama Crimson Tide. Huge weekend for my family. I've got Georgia and Bama people in my family. So, whoo, it's a roughie. And just for anyone else tuning in, these are the splits for tonight's game. Seattle open plus 1.5, now minus 1.5. Most of the bets and money are coming in on Seattle. Not really anybody on Arizona because Kyler Murray can't seem to beat Seattle. Is this the time? Guess we'll see. Pitcher props for tonight in case anyone still wants to talk some Major League Baseball. So you could go, this is probably my favorite one of the night, Walker Buehler to go over his earned runs allowed. Buehler has been bad. He is allowing just under 3 earned runs per start this year, going over his earned runs allowed prop in 72% of games. In the last 20 games, 67% of righties have gone over their earned runs prop against Miami. In fact, the Marlins are averaging 2.5 runs per game against starters this year. For the Mets righty, Nolan McLean, under 4.5 strikeouts is in plus money. The only fear I have is that the Mets don't, like, the Mets bullpen's a little tired. So maybe they try to keep McLean in the game, but it is going to be very tough for him to hit 5 against a Cubs team that really doesn't strike out much. McLean hasn't even faced a low strikeout rate team yet this year. This is the lowest K rate team that McLean's faced all season. Righties, 50 overs and 68 unders when facing the Cubs, averaging just over 4 strikeouts a game. 3 of the last 5 right-handers to start against the Cubs have gone under their K prop. So just from a value perspective, I do feel like there is some value on Nolan McLean under 4.5 Ks. Let's see some stats. Mark says Seattle 7 straight head-to-head versus the Cards 6-1 ATS. I'm not even showing some of Sean's stuff. What did Sean say? Lamar 23-2 record against the NFC. How did that pan out? Okay, well, the other 23 looked pretty damn good, Sean. So whatever. This weekend, I did say that I do like the Ravens at -2.5. I was waiting for that number to drop to 2.5. I think the Ravens defense will get things right against the Chiefs, who are fairly one-dimensional, with Isaiah Pacheco being the running back. That's not as tough as covering like the Lions backfield. I also feel like the Ravens offensively will click against this Chiefs defense that's not as good as it's been in years past. I would lay the 2.5 with the Ravens. This is their Super Bowl. It's going to be the biggest win they get all year because they're not even going to win a playoff game unless they're in a wild card. If they're in the wild card, maybe they win a wild card, but they don't win a divisional round game. Some other lines that stood out to me. So Minnesota, the line went from -1.5 to -2.5 against Pittsburgh in Dublin. Remember, that's a 9:30 a.m. Eastern time in Dublin. Minnesota, it's Carson Wentz. And like the fact the line's moving in favor of Carson Wentz should just automatically stand out to you that the Sharps are clearly on the Vikings. I don't think people trust Aaron Rodgers to go to Dublin at 42 years old and have success. And he also faced this same defense last year and got absolutely embarrassed. So I would be weary of Aaron Rodgers. I'm weary of how good I'm weary of the Steelers because their offense has pretty much been predicated on the pass, and that's where the Vikings have success. The Steelers would have to get the run game going against Minnesota, and that's just not their MO. So just be wary of that line in Dublin. The steam is totally on the Vikings. Some other lines that stood out to me. I know I also saw that the public is heavily fading the Giants. Heavily. We're talking like 85% of action coming in on Los Angeles. They're on the road at the Giants. Steam on the Chargers, -5.5 to -6.5. I'm hearing from some of my sharp friends out in Vegas that they like the Giants. It is ugly. Don't get me wrong. You've got 3 Chargers offensive linemen banged up. The Chargers open against Kansas City, had to play Monday Night Football after Brazil on the road in Vegas, and then Chargers finally got a true home game and they had to face Denver. It has been a really, really tough stretch for the Chargers and now have to go to the East Coast to face the Giants. I'm just saying, 6.5 is a lot of points for the Giants. I don't trust them. It's just a lot of points. And I know it's a rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart, getting his first start in the NFL. You can't really trust them straight up, for sure. Bad stats against rookie quarterbacks in their debut. 17, 35, and 1 straight up in rookie quarterback debuts. Getting 6.5 at home when everyone else around you is like, okay, we have to step up for our quarterback who's making his debut. Like maybe there's something the same way when I always talk about this in baseball, you've got your ace on the mound. The team doesn't score as much. You're confident you've got your ace on the mound. Similar situation. Russell Wilson, veteran quarterback. Oh, now you've got a rookie. We got to step up. We don't want him to look bad. We don't that mindset. Anyway, Giants +6.5. Interesting spot. Another interesting spot, Las Vegas. I ain't buying. I've got 2. Actually, 3 more. Las Vegas, I ain't buying the Bears. Absolutely not. Just because they had one great game against a horrible Dallas defense. I don't care. I don't trust the Bears at all. They're on the road. Vegas 1.5 point home favorites. Don't buy into a 1-game sample size. We're also talking about a Bears team that in the month of September is 4-14. Javonte Williams averaged like 7.5 yards per carry against Chicago last week. Dak Prescott 31 of 40 against the Bears D last week. So just because the Bears offense made the Dallas defense look silly, don't sleep on the Dallas offense stats against the Bears defense. So Vegas, when you look at Raiders last week, just under 6 yards per play. Geno Smith threw for 300 yards. Finally, no interceptions, 3 TDs. They could take advantage of this Bears defense. Another good scheduling spot, you could look potentially at the Colts. I mentioned this earlier, plus 3.5. The Rams, they're home after back-to-back road games on the early Eastern time slate. So if you just, the Rams could win. I don't know. I think that the best place to catch points would be with the Colts at plus 3.5, just because of the situation spot. I really like the Jaguars too. Again, we'll have to see what happens with Brock Purdy. I don't know if it's smart or not for the 49ers to play Brock Purdy this week because they have a short week against their division rivals, the Rams, on Thursday. So if you could give Purdy an extra few days of rest and not put him on a short week coming off injury, depending on how they feel his injury's looking. But let's just say, either way, right? Catching points with Jacksonville. You've got the short week for San Francisco coming up. 49ers rushed for 77 and 73 yards the last 2 games. Pretty one-dimensional if you got a backup quarterback. A lot of the times, teams will surround their backup quarterback for that first game. Oh my gosh, like Jackson Dart, we have to be great. They cover, they win, whatever happens, right? San Francisco 3-0. The luck has to run out on the injuries at some point. So now you got to win a second game, potentially with Mac Jones under center. I don't think with Mac Jones, they should be 3.5-point favorites. So I would take the 3.5 with Jacksonville. I think those were all the sides that stood out to me early on this week for the NFL. Why do you think I got a boyfriend? I didn't get a boyfriend. Absolutely not. 49ers have allowed 49 points in 3 games. So, no, I didn't get a boyfriend. I'm just dressed nice today because my mom told me that I need to dress nicer on the show. Thanks, Iris. Anyway, you guys know it's the end of the show, so it is time for my best bets of the day. We are going with Royal Locks. Royal Locks of the day. I am going to be so mad if the public jinxes this one. Sam Darnold, 220 or more passing yards for tonight's Thursday night football game. Darnold also went over his passing yards prop, the only road game he had against Pittsburgh. Week 3, Darnold completed 6 of 8 downfield passes, 146 yards, a touchdown. Darnold has completed just over 64% of his downfield passes. That's the second highest rate amongst qualified quarterbacks. He loves to throw the deep ball, and the Cards are terrible defending against it. The Cards are 12th in allowing the most deep balls this season. Also last year, if you care, Darnold did go over in 4 or 5 primetime games. I know it was a different team. Hey, he likes to throw in prime time. Arizona has allowed the second most passing yards per game to quarterbacks. All 3 quarterbacks that he's faced have gone over this. Mac Jones, Bryce Young, Spencer Rattler. You can argue that Sam Darnold's better than 2 of 3, if not all of those quarterbacks. So I would say that he can go over his passing yards prop as well. Kenneth Walker, the running back, going over his 10.5 receiving yards. Walker's gone over this in both primetime games dating back to last year, 36 and 37 receiving yards. Arizona's allowed the 5th most receiving yards per game to running backs this year, just over 50 receiving yards a game. 2 of the 3 number 1 backs to face Arizona have gone over their receiving yards prop. McCaffrey, Chuba Hubbard, they all went over with 88 and 39. Alvin Kamara, the only one that ended up going under. And lastly, for a baseball prop, if you want my favorite of the day, it's Walker Buehler allowing 2 earned runs or more. Buehler's allowed at least just under 3 earned runs per start this year, going over 1.5 in 72% of starts. In the last 20 games, 67% of righties have gone over their earned runs prop against Miami. The Marlins are averaging 2.5 runs per game against starters this year. I feel like people are sleeping on it because they don't think the Marlins are good. But they're averaging a bunch of runs against starters. You could look to Walker Buehler over 1.5 earned runs allowed. I'm starting to like Trey Benson a bit more since everyone's like baiting him on the ground. Do I bet it? Do I not? I don't know. I'm gonna make a last minute decision. But yeah, those are my Royal Locks of the day. Talked a little bit of NFL, a little MLB, a little Ryder Cup. Subscribe, like the YouTube page, please, over at Prop Queen Media, Prop Queen Sports. It really helps. It means a lot to me. I would love to hit 1,000 subscribers by like the next few months. We're at close to 700. I just started this a few months ago, so it would mean a lot if we got a lot of people to follow the YouTube page. You can subscribe, and what I do on the YouTube page too is I cut up all the segments so that if you miss any part of the show, you can go to the YouTube page and just catch those segments so you don't have to scroll through the entire show again. So all of our guest segments are segmented. All of the best bets are segmented. Everything that you need to just block out parts of the show. If you just want to see a certain guest, you just want to see certain picks, you go to the YouTube page and you sign up there. Coach was not able to attend today. He is busy today and tomorrow, unfortunately. The contest has ended for the free jersey giveaway for Props.Cash. So thank you everyone who signed up. Tomorrow on Happy Friday, I will announce the winner of the free jersey and we'll get in touch and I will get Props.Cash to send you the free jersey of your choosing. You can still subscribe to Props.Cash. Get 50% off if you use promo code PropQueen. 50% off the first month, $9 to use all those really cool charts and trends that you can get from Props.Cash. That's it for me, the Prop Queen, Ariel Epstein, here on this Thirsty Thursday edition. I was going to take the day off of wine, but I kind of feel like it's a vibe tonight. Wine, some Thursday night football, watch my Yankees play against the White Sox. Carlos Rodon's on the mound. Can the Yankees beat Mark's Toronto Blue Jays for the division? Guess we'll find out. And Shawn Michael does not want to talk about how his Tigers have blown my plus 360 ticket on winning the freaking division. So, Shawn, I don't care about your Lions. You guys blew it. I put money on your Tigers, and they blew it. So now, do I want to talk anything Detroit? No. Screw Detroit. Screw the city. Screw that state. I'm over them. Over Detroit. The Lions beat my Ravens. The Tigers screwed me out of the freaking division. I am over the city of Detroit. Mic drop. Great. Thank you to our guests, Tom Vecchio and Cam Rogers. I will see you all tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern time here on the Prop Queen Pod. Good luck to all your bets tonight.